Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Procurement and Finance Coffee Break. I'm Claire Green, your finance transformation expert. I'm here with, as ever, Richard Beaumont, procurement guru and speaker and general guy.
Dog's body for recordings. So yeah,
So
nice to see you all.
today, Richard's doing a shameless plug of
I am. I
on
am.
SecureCert, which I understand in principle is a product that's aimed at increasing focus on ESG,
Yeah.
and is basically a product that helps on compliance. So, Richard, I don't really know much about this brainchild of yours.
There we go. Oh,
So let's start with the basics. What's the problem that SecureCert aims to solve? And you're the founder of SecureCert. So why have you come up with this product, and what's its contents within ESG and human rights compliance?
well, okay. Thank you for allowing me a shameless plug. I'm actually launching SecureCert as part of an MBA, incredibly, with a lovely organisation called One Day, who are training the MBA and helping me come to market. But actually, the idea for this goes back 10 years, 12 years. Um, when I was EVP at central procurement at Rolls-Royce, part of this fell in my area. And I've spoken now literally to hundreds of CPOs and heads of sustainability. The problem is really simple. We are all required as part of supplier due diligence, but increasingly now under the various legislations like CSRD that we talked about in a previous coffee break. We're required to be able to report on ESG performance, as well as all the other things we're supposed to check suppliers for, data security, quality, whatever. It is simply impossible for any company to go and physically check their suppliers. You can't do it. And therefore, the majority of companies will rely on either sending out questionnaires to suppliers to say, look, please answer this truthfully about what you do and don't do. And, this is things like modern slavery, uh, financial stability. I mean, we send so many questionnaires to suppliers. Some companies will go to third parties like EcoVadis or Achilles, and they'll go and get them to get the evaluation. But a lot of that is done on a questionnaire basis as well. So what we've got is a reporting process based on evidence that is really difficult to get, almost impossible for any company to physically check. And that means there is a risk that is being faced by every business of being able to say honestly, I am confident my supply chain and my suppliers are compliant. And, the reason, why that is just becoming a bigger problem is because the legislative landscape is changing. We had, 10 years ago, we pretty much just had conflict minerals and modern slavery. Now we've got German Supply Chain Act, ISSB, CSRD, modern slavery, and a whole range of other national level, both from North America and from Europe and Australia. And all of those are bringing in a greater reporting requirement, which means that our requirement to be able to back it by evidence that can be audited, is growing as well. And the problem looks big when you look at it from a supplier, a customer side, an OEM tier one. But I spoke to one supplier who is in tier three, supplier of a supplier of a supplier of you.
Mm.
And last year they had 626 different questionnaires from people, customers above them, tier two, one, and zero, asking pretty much the same questions for that supplier to say, yes, I'm compliant with ESG, this is what I'm doing. And they were doing questionnaires on finance, on data, on quality. The guy said to me, the managing director, I employ people whose sole job is filling out questionnaires sent to me by customers and customers, customers, and customers, customers, customers. And that is ridiculous because it's just not sustainable. And if we look at the heart of it, if all we're relying on is millions of different paper questionnaires when no one is actually going to physically check them, what's our confidence level in the reliability of that data? And so the problem is big. It's too big a task. It requires too many resources. The quality line is not where we would like it to be. And it is just not sustainable in the long term for anybody at any level. And, to me, that's a problem that I hope SecureCert will solve.
Okay, great. So I understand basically what you're saying is ESG is basically and other legislation around human rights is basically creating a cottage industry of questionnaires, and it's just going to kind of mushroom into costs for
Yeah,
the business in terms of FTE to comply with this kind of cottage industry that's springing up. So it sounds like a significant challenge. So what solution does SecureCert propose to address this? How does it solve the problem?
right. If I asked you a question, right? Um, I'm sure your flat is very well maintained, but let's say you had a problem
Like
with,
you
I don't know,
neat and clean all the time.
well, I expect nothing less. So imagine that you've got a problem with the electrics in your flat. Something's gone wrong, right?
Mhm.
And you're given the choice of 10 electricians who say to you, we're very trusted, we're very good, we do everything properly, we'd like to have your business. And one electrician that a neighbour or friend of yours has used in the last 6 months, and they tell you, I used that electrician, they did a brilliant job, they were clean and efficient, they did solve the problem, and they did have a good price. Would you use one of the 10 or would you use the one that your friend recommended?
Yeah, I'd use the recommended choice. Yeah.
Absolutely right. Human nature. So same principle applies. If I'm a top level company, right, a OEM, and I have got reports that have been filled out on questionnaires either by myself or I've got them from a third party that say a particular supplier manufacturer somewhere in the world is okay, or I've got a report from someone who has physically been to that manufacturer, has
Mhm.
checked them, has looked at their operation, and has signed to say, I've looked and I'm happy. Which one is better quality for me to be confident in that supplier?
Exactly. I see what you mean.
Now, imagine, because it's too big a task for everyone to go and check suppliers. I mean, you imagine a mine.
Mm.
Imagine a mine producing cobalt being checked by every single company that uses cobalt. Impossible.
Yeah.
But what if that company could say, I've been inspected on the ground by 5 or 6, well, companies, customers.
Yeah.
I am going to share with you the report of that inspection that was done by those companies so that you can have that as evidence of the way that I work.
Mm.
Because if I'm another company looking to use that supplier and I can see that another company has physically checked them, my confidence level rises and my risk drops.
Mm.
So, what SecureCert is about is making it possible for any company to share verified inspection, compliance
Mm.
reports in any area, but ESG is the focus, with any other customer. And it's a simple thing. I've been inspected. I can upload that inspection. I can have the company that did the inspection verify that it's genuine. I can then share it with anybody else that needs it as part of their evidence. So to me, what we're leveraging through, if you like, social collaboration is trusted, genuine, on the ground checks of suppliers of any company with everybody else, so that together we can build a much more confident network that any player in the supply chain is behaving that the way that we would want to. And it means that, for any business, their workload drops, their risk drops, their confidence in their supporting data rises. And that means that doing things like CSRD reporting becomes easier because we're gathering the evidence in a consistent, shared way. And I believe that that collaborative sharing of reports is a game changer for our ability to manage supplier compliance globally.
Okay, so I can see, for example, if you're the supplier getting all the questions and you've already been checked by, let's say, a big customer, the benefits for you, because you're basically saying, well, okay, we'll use this secure database to share with all the other customers.
Yep.
Say you're the big customer that's done the inspection, how do they benefit? Because surely there needs to be some sort of quid pro quo in this equation.
Totally agree. Again, having talked, as I said, to hundreds of CPOs and heads of sustainability, everybody has got gaps, and some of those gaps are quite big. Therefore, yes, I might have gone and inspected a supplier, and that supplier is now sharing my hard work, but I will be able to borrow someone else's hard work on a supplier that I haven't been able to check. And the reality is, in my conversations, it feels a bit like a school disco, if you remember those. I'm old enough to remember school discos. Everybody used to stand round the outside of the room waiting for someone, to go and be the first out on the dance floor. And I think, with SecureCert, part of the if you like, the challenge, but it's a good challenge, is we're working with a small number of companies to demonstrate that they could fill their gaps if they could borrow from one of the others, which means that they'll have that confidence to walk out on the dance floor. But as one CPO said to me, it doesn't matter how fair I feel it is. Right now, I've got gaps that present a risk to my business. I have the obligation to reduce that risk. And if this helps me do it, great.
I'm just interested, sneaky question here,
Yeah.
wasn't on the question.
No.
I'm kind of interested as a business model. I would imagine like you need a certain critical mass to be using this product to make it kind of viable for all.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts around that?
Really easy. North Star metric. Good MBA term for you. North Star metric is the number of verified shared reports. So the critical mass for SecureCert is how many verified compliance reports are available for any customer to borrow. And therefore, we're working with both technology sector, engineering sector, automotive sector, with companies that are OEMs and companies that are, way down in the supply chain, to begin to feed SecureCert with those, with those reports that others can use. And I think the really interesting thing is, I believe one of the changes that will come is the behavior of suppliers. If you imagine I'm a tier 4, manufacturer of components somewhere in the world. Today, I'm inundated by people emailing me saying, fill this out, fill this out. In the future, I can take ownership of inviting maybe 5, maybe 10 customers to come and inspect me, because then I know if I've got good quality, verified inspections of my compliance, I can share that with everyone. And that means my workload has dropped as well. So everybody benefits by building that trusted network where we share, because I had a really observation from one head of sustainability, global engineering company, who said to me, he said, compliance is a team sport, but it's a team sport because we should all be focused on the outcome. And the outcome is better performance in both social and environmental behavior. So frankly, whereas I might be, well, shall I borrow or do I really want to share? Ultimately, I want to be able to answer the question, every supplier I am using, someone has checked them to say they're treating people properly and they're treating the planet properly. I can't do that by myself, but if I can borrow the confirmation from others, not only does that solve my problem, it is the right thing to do to drive that behavior across the supply chain.
Yeah, yeah, okay, understood. So last question then, how can companies learn more about SecureCert and start utilizing this platform to enhance their compliance management? I mean, is it ready to buy yet? Is it
Not
in?
yet. No, we're still the product is there in prototype. We are working with companies at the moment. We're actually looking at their supplier data to understand the scale of gaps and how much it could be borrowed. But there are really two things. One, obviously, check out our website, securecert.com, have a look at what we're trying to do. And there's an opportunity to talk to us. There's a nice big button on the screen. We can have a chat about your situation. And, if you want to get engaged as an early adopter so that we can look at what problems we could fix for you in your compliance gaps. But secondly, there's an ability to subscribe. And on the subscription, we are regularly pushing out information about legislation, about reporting requirements, about the product, and about how we are trying to change the way that we manage supplier compliance to make it easier for everyone, but also to raise the quality line significantly, which I think are two great outcomes. So shameless plug, securecert.com. We're
Yeah.
coming and we'd love to help you. So please come and have a chat.
So thanks, Richard, to hear all about your brainchild, and I wish you well with it. It's clear that SecureCert is going to offer a much needed solution to streamline compliance, and that a solution is actually needed to this kind of cottage industry that's mushrooming up as a result of ESG and other legislation. For our listeners, if you're facing challenges in ESG and human rights compliance, SecureCert could be the answer you're looking for. I encourage you to reach out to Richard, who no doubt talk your ear off
I
about it.
will. I will. Shamelessly.
Yeah. Until next time, until next time on our next procurement and finance coffee break. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.